All right, animation one. So what we're going to do today is you are going to take this shape, this weird funky shape, and everybody has a different shape. And you guys are going to create a character within this shape. And I'm going to tell you why I'm having you do this later. It's kind of like a surprise thing. And so what I want you to do is, again, look for like little things like this. Like, what does that look for you? Like, remember, like when you're like a kid and you're looking up at the clouds, and you're like, oh, I see a bunny, or I see a whatever. It's because the shapes kind of mean something to you. And so I looked at this. This was my example shape, and I saw a dog. I was like, okay, you know what? This over here could definitely be like the nose of a dog. I can see like a dog's nose being here. And this kind of like this shape here, this like curve looks like a dog's like big flappy ear. And then down here, it's like, so I can see a flappy ear right here. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So what you guys need to do is you guys need to open this up in Photoshop. Okay. And so on your computers, and if you're an at-home person, I hope you have Photoshop because I gave you the instructions last week and they're in the module. So if you are in our module, and this is animation 1, if you look at software, this walks you through exactly how to, oh no, download, oh no, oh no, download that software channel. I told you exactly how to download Photoshop, so if you need to do that, please do. If you are a at-home person and if you have a school-issued computer and you can't download Photoshop, I would like you to try a website called Pixlr. Oh no, I'm all over the place today. Pixlr.com, okay? Pixlr is a absolutely free online cloud-based software. And so if you go to like, you can do advanced, or I'm just going to do playful. And it's real simple. You can open an image. Here's an image I had already opened before in another class. And you can, create layers over here. You can draw. You can do everything that you can do in Photoshop. It's pretty intuitive. Play around for a minute, figure out exactly how to draw and how to do what we're going to do. It's an experiment. Today would be a big experiment. But you should definitely be using Photoshop if you have Photoshop. Okay, so here, down here, on a Mac computer at least, PC is going to be different. I'm going to go to Launchpad, and then there is Photoshop right there. Maybe I have to scroll to a different page to get there. Look at all these different softwares I have. Insane. But I'm going to open up Photoshop. And luckily for me, I already have it up. And this should be the page that you see when you open it up. And it's going to ask you, you shouldn't see anything down here because you haven't opened up anything before. And I want you to create, what do I want you to do? I want you to do this. When you download your document, I want you to put it in a folder, okay? The key to doing this stuff, and this becomes really important later, is to always be super organized. So in your folder, don't look at my desktop. It's really embarrassing. Be better than me, guys. Like, I'm telling you to be a folder, to be organized, and look at this. This is pathetic, all of this. It's terrible. I'm ashamed. Be better. Okay, I'm going to create a new folder, and to do that, I'm going to go to File, New Folder, and again, if you're at home and using a PC, it's going to be different, and I'm going to call it Shape or Character Within Shape. Okay, and I'm going to drag my shape inside there. Okay, that's the first thing you should do. And then in Photoshop, I would like you to open that shape. And so you'll need to go and find it on your desktop. And mine was inside Animation 1, Character Within Shape, and there it is. And I'm going to open. Okay, now it's opened up in Photoshop. Okay. Now the nice thing is, once I save, I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Save As. I would like to save it as, and if you may get this screen, you may not. Don't worry. If you don't worry about it. But we're definitely going to save it on the computer. We're not going to save it into the cloud. I'm going to save it into the computer. I'm going to just name it 85, and then yours should have said your last name on it. And I need you very much so, need you to call it, keep it your last name. I'll tell you why later. But we're going to choose Photoshop for our format here instead of JPEG. I'm going to hit Save. Okay. Now everything that you do going forward, where was that character? Was that shape? Everything that you do going forward is going to be saved in this one folder. So that way you never have to like look on your folder for it. Sometimes you get used to Mac. You have to go and search for things because you can't find it. You know exactly where it's at. Okay. All right. So inside here, this is Photoshop. This is the layout. Over here, I have tools. Over here I have windows, I have my artboard, and then up here you have options. Okay, notice that every tool I click on has different options. Let's see, up here at the top. The big one that we want to be concerned about right now is layers over here in terms of these windows. And we'll go through the other ones. You don't need to know all of them, but for at least today, we need to know layers. All right. Now, the first thing I need you to do is you should see this little lock icon here. We don't want this to be locked. How do you unlock a layer? You just double click it 2 times and hit OK. And now it is unlocked, which means it can be moved around. It can be edited, right? Now, I don't actually want to do anything to this layer. This is a template, right? What I want you to do is I want you to click New Layer. We always need to work on a new layer, all right? Now I'm on a new layer. If I do something on this layer, let me change the color here. Notice that it is on a separate layer than my template, because eventually you're going to delete the template and you need to have your illustration remain, okay? So I'm going to start with a couple of things. One, you need to use a couple of different tools. Notice I went to the brush tool. Brush tool is super important. I'm going to brush tool and I'm going to go to black. All right, change it to black. I'm going to come over here and then I can change the size of my brush up here in my options bar, and I can get really big. Or I can go really small in size. And then right beneath it's this hardness. For now, hardness always needs to be at 100. So look, I'm going to leave it at 100 and let's do full hardness. Versus if I turn down my hardness all the way, do you see how it blurs the edges? That comes in super handy later on when we're doing some more advanced art stuff, but for now we need full hardness. And I'm going to lower this down to where I can draw, get some nice fine drawing in here. All right. Opacity, you can turn down opacity if you want, but not for this assignment. Because this assignment, we pretty much need a something that looks like that. All right. Now notice I drew white on top of black. You can draw black on top of white. It doesn't really matter. For what we're going to use this for, it matters not. So that is my dog. I have a dog named Macho because, again, that looked like a nose up here to me. That looked like an ear down here to me. And then I kind of made this part up here, his little hair at the top that sticks up. And that's my dog. He's pathetic. He begs for food. And yeah, so that's Macho. So first thing we're going to do, I have my pen or my brush tool. I can come in here and I can start drawing in my area. Oh, notice that I forgot to bring my opacity back down. And if I was to recreate this, I can say, okay, well, this is my shape. So, I want to come down here. I want you to stay within the shape. Staying within the shape is super important. I'm going to come down here. Notice that this is really terrible drawing because I am not using a tablet. I'm not even using a mouse. This is even way easier on a mouse. I'm using a trackpad on a laptop. So this is really terrible. So let's say I thought that, that kind of looks like the dog's ear, little overlap skin there. He kind of has some like fluffy hair thing that comes up there. It goes that way. Oh, that was bad. I can't let that stand. And then he comes over here, and then his head kind of comes down. But notice I need this part of the shape. I can't just erase that. And let's say I wanted his nose to come up here and hook down. Notice I'm always staying within the shape. His nose is like that big. And then we come down here, and he has this like chin thing. A couple little dots. I'm doing a really terrible job just to show you. And then an eye or something. Okay, I'm going to stop now. You get the point, right? Yeah. All right. So let's say I drew that in. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's bad. Okay, so I have my dog. But I did something. Do you guys notice what I did wrong? I drew on my shape, which is bad, right? Ah, terrible, terrible teacher. Okay, but so this right here, I cut this out because I wanted his head to go down because I thought it would be weird for his head to stay up here. But I would need to include something here. And so for me, I'm just going to include like this little stripe shape to make it seem like it's part of the background behind the dog or something. I don't know, just a little design. So that works perfectly fine, right? Now, if I want to erase something, I cannot believe I did not make a new layer. Hold on one sec. I'm going to draw a couple lines here real quick. Okay, let's say that I came too far out and need to erase. The eraser tool is right there. And again, I make sure my opacity and my flow are at 100. We'll talk about what flow is later. Opacity, keep it at 100. The hardness needs to be all the way up. I'm going to turn down the brush size, and then I can erase the things I don't want. Okay? And like over here, I don't want that, but that's part of that layer here, which I messed up on, so don't do that. I did that on purpose, by the way, just so that way I could show you how not to do it, right? Right, let's just go with that. Okay, now that is using the brush tool. So I showed you the brush tool, and I showed you the eraser tool. You could very easily do this assignment with just the brush and the eraser tool. I'm going to show you a more advanced way to do it if you want to give that a go, which is a little more complicated. Notice also down here that I did not finish my shape. I need to keep the entire shape. So when we're done, I should be able to look around and see your object in here and see the shape entirely. Okay? Very, very important. All right? Now, the way I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Revert. And Revert just goes back to when I first opened up the image. Okay, so File, Revert, and then I can pretty much just start over again. That's right there. So another way I can do this is to use the pen tool. And again, I'm going to go this really, really, really quickly, because this is how, notice that on my design here, notice how sharp and crisp all my lines look. They come to very definitive points. Everything looks nicely illustrated, right? Oh, and I also should show you how to use shapes too for like the whiskers, stuff like that. So on the pen tool, you can make absolutely straight lines. But notice that when I make a shape, I always have to go back to where I began. See how it makes a little circle there? That means I've closed the shape. It is now a shape. And up here, I can choose what fill color I have for that shape, and I can use what stroke I want for that shape. And for stroke, I want no stroke. Okay? That's it. I just made a shape with the tool. And notice how geometric it looks. But with the pen tool, I can also do curved lines. So let's say, I'm going to use my zoom tool. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's say that I wanted to use the pen tool, and I want to start here. And I want to curve down. And I'm going to go just a little ways. I'm going to go like this far. If I click and then drag, I can actually start making curves. Okay? Now, I have two things here. I have these things right here. See that line right there with the dot and the line with the dot? These are called Bezier handles. And I'm going to click here just to show you what it does. A Bezier handle controls the curves. So this one controls this curve. And this one controls, anyway, this one controls this curve, right? So you can go back later and kind of fine tune exactly where you want that. I'm going to turn strokes off now because it's kind of like not helpful. So I'm going to move that one just a little bit right there, right? This point right here is not where I want it. I actually want it like down here. So I'm going to go ahead and move that. Actually, I'm going to delete and start again, just to show you. So, because now you had to know how to like create curves. So to give you a sense, if I were to click and then click again and hold down and drag, I make a curve. If I click again, it's going to follow that curve because it thinks that you want to do some like nice organic line. But what if I wanted to do a straight line? Like, what if I want to do like a Nike swoosh, where it comes to a point? Well, to do that, I have to hold down Option and then click on this point to get rid of that Bezier handle, which means to Photoshop, hey, don't want a curve. Now I can go in a straight line again. So I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to drag and curve, and notice that I can create like a crisp, nice little line. Again, Option, click to get rid of that handle because I don't want a curve, and I'm going to fill my shape. No stroke. And so that is how I created that look there of that nice crisp lines that you see in these areas, okay? So I would strongly suggest, and it gives you a much more professional look. And is the pen tool easy to use? know it's kind of a humongous pain, but it does give you a nice look. Again, Option click, come down here, a little bit more of my curve. I'm not going to spend time to do it. Really nice. Option click, down here, drag, Option click. I'm going to come this way, drag, Option click, come over here, click and drag, Option click. And I'm going to come back around again because I want to fill in that shape. So today I'm going to do a really thick dog ear. Option click, Option click. Let's go up here. Option click. Option click. So now I've made that dog ear. Right? Get rid of that. Now I have this really cool little dog ear that then I would build on. So now I got that shape. Now I'd come in with my pen tool and again click, drag and click, Option click, click, drag, click. And you can see how you would start building it. Of course, I would never want to do this just freehand because you don't really know where you're going. You would probably want to create a sketch layer and then, take a brush tool and kind of like, I want the ear there. I want, the eye to be like right there. I want the nose to be up here. And of course, you're doing whatever you want. I want the smile to be really sinister looking and then, blah, that's kind of cool. And, once I had my sketch layer, then I can turn the opacity of that sketch layer down. And then I can use the pen tool to kind of go and make a really fine-tuned drawing. So like, I want the eye to be up here, Option click, go back to where I started. Now I got this little swoosh for the top of the eye. I hope that makes sense. So you choose. Play around with the pen tool. Play around. You can do it with a brush tool, which is way simpler. If you have a tablet in the brush tool, that is the simplest way. If you use a mouse, that's okay too. If you want to add shapes, like I had like these little whiskers on my dog right there. So I am going to hold down right here on this, and you see that little triangle at the bottom of each tool? That means that there's more tools hidden beneath. So I'm going to go to the ellipse tool, which is a circle. It should default to be already being on the rectangle tool. And if you just click and drag, make circles. That's it. If you want to change the color of the circle, by all means go right ahead. We never want a stroke. It defaults to having a stroke. Let's go back to black. So you're going to create a black image on white or a white image on black, whatever you prefer. But you're going to make an animal, okay? That's that. Once you're done, you're going to delete that. And you should have your finished design here. And then what I'd like you to do is go to File, Save As, Save to your computer, save in that same folder, and you're going to save it the JPEG. This should be a JPEG, and it should say 85 or whatever your number is, dash your last name. Save it to this folder. It'll ask you, do you want to replace, because you'll already have that 85 dash or number dash your last name .jpeg, which was your original image you downloaded. And that's okay. Just go ahead and say, yeah, save over it. And it's just going to get rid of this one and replace it with your final illustration and hit save. And that JPEG is what I need you to upload for this assignment. Okay? And then I'll show you later why we did all that. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But mostly just play around in Photoshop, experiment. This is a good time to experiment. You'll be spending a lot of time in Photoshop this year, and there's a lot to learn. All right? So get your bearings. That is it. Bye, guys.